If you're an entrepreneur, high performer, or deep thinker who's tired of one-size-fits-all solutions for your health and your life, this episode is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
You know, we're used to going to a doctor and doctor says, all right, well, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. And the question is, well, why is it 2? Why is not 4? Why is not 1? So we're all individuals, and look at how we metabolize. Look at what our personalized needs are. That starts with your genetics. We all have our DNA. We get 50% from our mother, 50% from our father usually. And then what happens is some of these genes are turned on, but not all of them. Some of them, when we're born, like things like our hair color, or eye color, or skin color, some other predispositions, but then our lifestyle choices get to turn those genetic predispositions on.
What if the reason you feel off and focused or burnt out or even stuck isn't because of lack of discipline, but a lack of personalization? Here on the Audacious Living Podcast, the goal is simple. It's to help you live your best audacious life ever by questioning the norm, trusting your path, and making intentional choices that actually work for you. Today's guest is Len May. He's the CEO and co-founder of EndoDNA, a pioneer at the intersection of genetics, epigenetics, AI, and personalized healthcare. Len challenges the traditional take this and call me in the morning approach to medicine, and instead empowers people to understand their own biology, their own wiring, and their own path to wellness. This conversation dives into audacity in health, entrepreneurship, neurodivergence, and what it really means to take ownership of your life. So with all that said, let's get into it. Hey, Len, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate you as well.
Yeah, it's great to be able to engage in conversations that can, help individuals as we say, live their best audacious life. And, we oftentimes use an analogy about the path that we're on. It's our own personal journey, if you will, and I think the work that we do here and some of your work as well is around empowering individuals to accept that journey on their pathway and really helping them achieve the greatness in life that they're looking for, whatever success means to them, because it's very much self-defined. And so that's what we aim to do here. We do that through encouraging and awareness and obviously offering up some new insights. And so perhaps, Len, as a starting point, if I can get you to introduce yourself to our audience, talk about the work that you do and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Len May. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called EndoDNA. What we do is we're a decision support platform for healthcare professionals that uses genetics and epigenetics to guide their patients to a personalized medical health and wellness protocol. And then we measure how well that works. We're using machine learning, and our AI learns and helps to create more of a personalized experience for the patient healthcare professional journey.
And so for the average person, that's the first time they're hearing this, not understanding, maybe you can talk about the significance of the work you do and the kind of impact that you have for individuals.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of work that we do and what the significance is that, we're used to going to a doctor and doctor says, all right, well, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. And the question is, well, why is it 2? Why is not 4? Why is not 1? So we're all individuals, and look at how we metabolize. Look at what our personalized needs are. That starts with your genetics. We all have our DNA. We get 50% from our mother, 50% from our father usually. And then what happens is some of these genes are turned on, but not all of them. Some of them, when we're born, like things like our hair color or eye color or skin color, some other predispositions, but then our lifestyle choices get to turn those genetic predispositions on. So think of it as a bunch of on-off switches, like a circuit breaker.
Okay.
And we have the ability to make lifestyle choices to turn those things on that are pre-programmed for us. So what will be those things that we are empowered to do? We can make modifications in our supplementation, our diet. So what food we consume can actually impact the turning on and off or what's pre-programmed for us. Exposure to heavy metals, pesticides, all those different things, they can actually impact our epigenetic expression, the turning on of those, or our own neurochemistry. And what I mean by that is stress. So stress hormones can impact the epigenetic expression of that as well. So the way I kind of look at it is your genome is sort of your life's GPS. It shows you where your potholes are in the road. It shows you where the traffic jam is or the collision, and what to avoid and what to take more of. So if you're having this discussion with your healthcare professional, now you're in collaboration, you're in partnership. Your doctor has hundreds of patients. You are your own patient. So this way, you're in partnership with your doctor. You know what your genome is. You know what the specific treatment protocol is for you. It's personalized. And you can get ahead of some of these predispositions, some of these conditions based on your partnership with your doctor. So a lot of times we are reactive. So meaning that healthcare is really sick care, the way that's done in this country. So we have a pain somewhere and the doctor says, okay, well, for that pain, I have a pill for you, or I can give you an injection to take away the pain. And sometimes the pain is an indicator instead of taking the pain away. And it's part of us, we have pain aversion. We want something to take away the pain, but sometimes maybe it makes sense to follow that pain and see what's the root cause. And if we can address the root cause of that, we're now practicing healthcare because it's addressing the root cause, not the symptom that's being expressed. And another way to look at it is preventative healthcare. So if you have a predisposition for something, you can get ahead of that and make sure that it doesn't turn itself on.
Got you. And so you're not just reacting when something goes wrong. You're thinking ahead as to sort of what do I need to be mindful of, what do I need to be aware of, again, what my predispositions are.
Look, Matt, you talked in the beginning about, our definition of success and all these other things. So think about it this way. You have goals, right? You have goals that you set up, you write your goals down, you have dreams, and you dream big, and you meditate, and you manifest those dreams. And it's wonderful. I work with a lot of successful people, and I used to have a coaching practice that did that. When somebody's sick, you have one goal. One, that's to get better. All those things go away. So if you're not taking care of your health and wellness, nothing else is as important. You can't support your family. You can't do all these things. And all your dreams and goals go by the wayside. So the number one goal and dream is to be healthy, to make sure that you live a healthy, long life. And now you can do all the other things that you're planning for your life. So that's kind of what I started foundation.
Got you. So I'd love to hear what kind of sparked this passion to work in the exploration of DNA. How'd that happen for you?
So I was a kid who would sit in class and the teacher would call me when I was little, and my mind would be elsewhere, be sort of daydreaming. And at some point it became disruptive in class. I couldn't really pay attention. And my parents took me to doctors. I got diagnosed with ADHD or ADD without the hyperactive part. They put me on medication for that. And I can't say it didn't work. It just completely removed my sense of connection to self. So all my emotional, so I would kind of go through the day, do my stuff, but no ups, no downs, no feeling of any sorts. And then I was met these kids who were hanging out before school, and they asked me if I want to smoke a cigarette. I was like, cool, I'm going to hang out with the cool kids. I'm going to smoke a cigarette. Great. So They had one cigarette. I never questioned why they had one. They passed around the cigarette. It got to me, took a drag. It didn't taste like a cigarette. I took another one and they were laughing. Like, what? And they put cannabis in my cigarette. So I went back to class and actually the windows are open in my head, sort of narrowed, and I could focus. So that became sort of my go-to medicine, which I didn't really mention to anybody. My parents didn't really care for that. They ended up kicking me out of the house at some point, actually calling the cops to have me arrested.
Okay.
The irony of this is that my parents both take formulations that my company in its previous state actually had patents on. So it came full circle. But so I got into
do you remind her of that every so often? Do you bring that up there?
all the time, man. We rub that shit in, of course.
Remember, you kicked me out of the house for this.
Yeah, and it's funny. My dad's like an advocate now. He's like, hey, I was talking to a friend of mine. His elbow hurts, or this and that. I told him talk to you, or they have cancer, whatever it is. So I went through this journey of with cannabis and trying to find what works, what doesn't work. And long story, a little bit longer. My ex-wife at some point, and I was going to physical therapy school. Then I opened up a company. I sold it, and I was kind of sitting there. I was still involved in music in a way. And my ex-wife was like, "It's time to get a real job. If we want to do something, we were dating at the time. But if we want to do something, so I got a job at Price Waterhouse before it was PwC, and then I started working at consulting and working a venture capital company. Then I shifted over to doing commercial real estate. I was a commercial real estate broker. Moved from Philadelphia, where I was from, to Los Angeles, and met these guys through real estate. Got in and opened up a dispensary, cannabis dispensary. So I ended up opening up 4 more. And what I kept seeing was 2 people would consume the same varietal and have a completely different experience. So my ADD kicked in, and I started researching, and I found a way to do genetics on the plant, then moved into the human genetic side, and created the first endocannabinoid system genetic test. And we have a patent on that as well, and launched EndoDNA in 2017. So our first foray was in the endocannabinoid system, so we can find what works better for people, so they can avoid possible adverse effects. And then from there, we got into whole genome and next female hormone health, male hormone health, skin, nutrigenomics, and cognitive health and wellness. So we've done, we're 16 citations on PubMed. We're in 11 clinical studies. We have a phase 2 clinical trial, 2 phase 2 clinical trials, actually a third one starting on Alzheimer's, then Parkinson's, and we have a couple other ones as well. So that's the trajectory of the company and me.
Wow. How long was that process? I mean, what you've described is a lot, but I'm curious how long it took and all that to happen.
I'm old, so I'm 53. But when I started this journey as a teenager, and we going through, and this is important for people to understand. People talk about finding their purpose, finding their passion. And I think it's not a permanent thing. I think it's, for some people it is. I have my own podcast, and I interview people who sometimes are musicians. Like they pick up a guitar at 8 years old, and they're like, shit, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Some of us don't have that. We don't know. So I think you should explore everything. So I did. I explored everything that I was passionate about until I was no longer passionate about that, or it didn't fulfill me as much. So I went to do other things. And all those experiences in life help to lead you to where you are today. And I don't even know if this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, but I'm very, very passionate about my own health and wellness. When I was a kid, my grandfather, who was a very large, physically large man, very tall, big guy, he had a stroke. And my grandmother was really small, half his side was paralyzed, and he couldn't speak, and it was just kept happening. He had all these health issues. And I'll never forget my mom, my grandmother would sit there with a bag of pills. And every single month or weeks, they would call the doctors like, this interacts with this, and how much should I take?
Right.
So the side effects in medication were causing all these, horrible health challenges. So I was like, there's got to be a different way. So I've always had a passion about health. I just didn't know that this is something that I can do or I can take action around it. So it's been a lifelong journey, and it continues to be my lifelong journey, but now I'm sharing it with, everybody else.
Beautiful. And I do love, you talked about those experiences, right? Like there's an expression I've been saying that for the end of time, it feels like, but the expressions around the life that, when we live life in forward, it's an art form, because in the moment we're just guessing, we're going with our intuition, we're kind of go what makes sense. When you look back and what you've done, it's very much a science. You can see I did here to get here to get here, and everything all of a sudden makes sense. And so that's a collection of all those experiences, is what I'm hearing from you. And that's fabulous to hear that you've kind of come to that point, and kudos to you for sort of chasing your passion, because that's a big deal as well. I just in some information I saw you reference that you say everything is personal, and I'd love to understand what that phrase means to you, on I guess maybe on a professional level and a personal level as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything is personal is the name of my podcast, but I really believe that, look, 99.9% of us are identical. It's that 0.1% genetically that makes a difference. And, we look a lot of times on how divisive we can be, how we look at the differences instead of looking at things that unite us, which is almost everything. But there's still that, 0.1% that makes it different. And that's where it becomes personal to the individual. So we all are individuals. And sometimes we try to, the way that we connect to the world, we try to project that onto other people. And instead of understanding that everything is personal, maybe that individual is going through something, and they are projecting some of that stuff back to us. So it creates friction and it creates conflict instead of having an empathy to the other person. They know that they also have their suitcase of garbage that they brought into the office. Sometimes you got to be aware of that and leave it outside the door. But that notion of everything is personal is the way I live my life, and I try to live my life, I should say. It's not perfect. We always kind of, trip and fall, but pick ourselves back up and go. But that's the key. I think the key is to understand that what makes us different is what can bind us together with that individual, as long as we understand that person also has their own thing. So everything is personal to me, everything is personal to you, but that thing is what binds us, connects us, if we understand that. And that has to do with emotional intelligence.
It's funny, as you talked about, you try to live your life that way. I mean, look, I'm the guy over here encouraging audaciousness and be audacious as much as possible. And do I have moments where I question what I'm doing? Absolutely. Like it happens. I think it's a natural function of being a human. I think though, for me, because of the stance I've taken, I'm able to recognize when I am holding myself back or I am doubting myself. And I'm able to do an analysis as to why am I doing that? Or what's occurring to me to make this happen? And then, I'll do it anyways. Yeah, I figure that out. But so it is a function of human. And I agree with you that, everything, it absolutely is personal. We've got to recognize. I think the key in that, and what you've said and shares sentiments with what I've said is in recognition, right? You have to identify it, label it. Here's what's happening. And then you look at what can you do next after you label it, right? And that's what I've heard from you loud and clear.
Yeah, I think and maybe we've got to the point in this country, and I travel all over the world, so I see this in different countries as well. Some of them are further along than we are. Some of them are not there yet, but there's this huge divide. And I think what happened was we stopped listening to each other. The louder that we shout, the more that we can try to convince somebody. But the idea is not to change anybody's mind. You're not going to change anybody's mind. The idea is to listen. And I think the listening part of everything that we do, it has changed. And even in the work that we do, look, during COVID, we lost a lot of trust in our healthcare system. We were told and we were forced, and we have to do this and we have to do that. So the collaboration between ourselves and the healthcare professionals sort of dissolved. And now I think that understanding and that empathy goes a long way, because if you can say to your doctor, why? How often do we actually question and use why? Well, we have doctor in the white coat tells you to do something, you just do it. Well, I like to question things a little bit. And if you're able to question and have an intelligent conversation with anyone, just because I said so is no longer an answer. I used to do that with my parents all the time, and it would just frustrate them because go do this, do that. And I'm like, why? So continue to do that. I don't want to grow out of that. I think that's the way that we use curiosity to grow. And sometimes growth is not very comfortable, but we have to do it anyway.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with someone. I'm a parent myself. I got 3 kids, and I've oftentimes said that, that thing that drives you crazy as a parent, as you're parenting your child, will be the thing that they grow into, that people will look to them and say, oh, wow, I really appreciate this, right? So, you continue to question as a child into your adulthood, and now that questioning that you still do is what you're leading with, right? And so I think that's the important thing, that we don't try to dampen what we see, as crazy as it might make us feel, right? That we find ways to encourage that, because now you're using that question and questioning the establishment. I'd love to hear what the role of Audacity has played in the way you've challenged sort of the medical system and in this one size fits model that they impose on individuals.
I mean, being audacious in life has to do with a lot of confidence. You have to be able, and as an entrepreneur, I can be comfortable working in my 6-figure corporate job that rinse and repeat every single day, but that's a comfortable place to be. But is it a fulfilling place to be? Are you here to do more? And if you believe that you're here to do more and you're here for greater things, to be able to contribute, then you have to be audacious. And it takes a lot. I see the bold network. You have to be bold to be able to go out and be first and be smacked down. Look, in all the different things, I've done so many different things in my life, and sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, fine. No big deal. I'm not going to roll up in the ball. I'm going to go learn from that experience, and I'm going to do something else. I'm going to learn, or I'm going to win. And that's the only way it is. So, doing something with cannabis, the endocannabinoid system, we don't touch the plant, but we had to overcome so many obstacles from governmental agencies, everybody. I'm like, you don't even understand that we have an endocannabinoid system. Everybody does. So that. The second thing is genetics. Well, doctors don't know why genetics? Well, they don't change. I'm like, no, but the expression changes. So being able to be on an island is a very difficult place to be. Yeah. And it takes a lot of being bold, being audacious, being confident in your belief system that you're doing something that is outside of yourself. And I believe that, being an entrepreneur is a very, very difficult job. Everybody wants to do it until they get smacked in the face. Like, Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched. You get punched in the face over and over and over. So you have to really be passionate and believe in order to overcome that. It's not the same thing as going in your office, your boss yells at you, you still have a job, you're working. But here, sometimes you pay yourself last.
Gotcha.
I get this is an analogy. So Wayne Gretzky, who was the greatest goal scorer, Ovechkin passed him last year, but he's still the greatest point getter in all of NHL hockey. So I remember years ago, they asked Wayne Gretzky, how do you score all these goals? And he said, I skate where the puck is going to be. So you can go and follow, and it's fine. It's not for everyone. But if you're going to be there on an island waiting for the puck to get to you, it's a lonely place to be. It's a difficult place to be, but you're first. And I'd rather be first than last than be a follower. So you have to be audacious to stand there and wait for the puck. But the reward is you're the greatest goal scorer. You're the great one. Your nickname is the great one. So that's
oh no, I love that. It's a great analogy, and I think a great analogy, and I think you're absolutely correct. You've got to, stand on yourself. The bold framework. It's actually an acronym. B stands for better than yesterday. So it's about constant improvement. Like, so yeah, you climbed yesterday's mountain. What are you gonna do tomorrow, right? And so it's better than yesterday. We always outlast adversity, as we all know. There's gonna be adversity. There's gonna be challenges. There'll be obstacles that come in our way. We got to get past that. The L is live your truth. You've got to be authentic and true to who you are. So these passions that you've discovered, that you've uncovered, they matter to you, and that's what drives you. That's what keeps you fueled and focused and on the way. And the D is very much in line with what you just gave with the Wayne Gretzky example, which is disrupt the norm. Like, the pathway is going here, but why don't you go over there, right? Because the greatest inventors, like you think of the Wright brothers, the number of people that laughed at them when they were inventing planes or trying to get us to fly. People thought they were crazy. Flying is only for the birds, but they're in fact, now it's a way of our life. And so that's kind of what the bull, and really it's about how do you become, your best, you live your best audacious life. You would follow that framework. One of the things that you sort of touched on is the skepticism that exists around cannabis. Like, how do you overcome that? I'm sure there's stigmas, there's myths, there's all sorts of experts that say that, and none of this is true, correct, or accurate. How do you move past those stigmas? Because there's still quite a number of them out there, right?
Well, I think it's a misunderstanding of drugs in general.
Okay.
So, to give an example, and I'll mention cannabis next, but cocaine. So cocaine is a Schedule II narcotic. We use it. We get Novocaine in our teeth, and a lot of times lidocaine to numb things. So it has medicinal purposes. Cannabis is a Schedule I narcotic, has no medicinal purposes, even it's legal in 40 states, but cocaine does. So how does cocaine work? Well, it's anything exogenous. That means the outside of ourselves. It's a ligand. So we have receptors. So we consume that substance, that drug, quote unquote. It binds to our dopamine receptors, squirts a bunch of dopamine into our brain, blocks the reuptake of the dopamine. So our brain is like, oh, wow, I love this. Give me more. And then all of a sudden, it reuptakes that. And it sends, so your brain is saying, I would like more of that, because dopamine is very addictive.
Yeah.
So it's going to send signals that you want more dopamine. And now you get on this habitual ride. Now it comes from a plant, comes from the cocoa plant. You have cocaine, it comes from a plant. Well, cannabis also comes from a plant. We have receptors for it. Now, in evolution, we lost a lot of things that we no longer need. So I'm not sure what the use of the appendix is, but we have it. And there are a lot of other things that we evolved out of. But our endocannabinoid system, we did not. So it was discovered in 1992 by Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, and it's our primary modulating system. So the system is incredibly important. What it does, it gets signals. Some of the other systems in our bodies, so our immune system, our endocrine system, up the central nervous system, the brain, like salmon swimming upstream. And your brain makes a decision if a system is out of balance, which is called homeostasis. It secretes endogenous, that means we develop them ourselves, endogenous endocannabinoids to be able to stabilize or get that system back into balance and homeostasis. And the two that it uses is called anandamide. The word ananda means bliss in Sanskrit. So this is our bliss molecule that we release, and the other one's called 2-AG. So the bliss molecule, we get that when we're working out or when we have the runner's high. It gives us that sense of euphoria. Well, that's what delta-9 THC does. So when we consume the plant binds to our dopamine, to our CB1 receptors. CB1 receptors are located in our brain and central nervous system, and it releases that anandamide. And the other endogenous endocannabinoid that it releases. So when we consume CBD, CBD has an affinity for the CB2 receptors, which are located in our immune, digestive system, etc., and they modulate inflammation or immune release. So when you have a deficiency in what you're producing naturally, we're able to get that from the plant. Now, here's where the stigma comes in. So the good news is when you know exactly the amount that you need, it subsidizes what we naturally create and releases the right amount for us. However, when we take too much, it actually creates too much anandamide. Your immune system can overreact to that and create an adverse event. So some of those adverse events can be, I feel stressed, I feel depressed, other things like that. So the adverse effects are any drug. There's a bunch of different effects. We don't blame Tylenol. If we pop 8 Tylenol and don't feel well, we don't go back and say, oh my God, this Tylenol, it's the worst. It gives us this adverse effects. No, we say we took too much Tylenol. But with cannabis, for some reason, we have to point back to the plant. It has nothing to do with the plant. It has to do with us. So when you find what's right for you, you take the right dose. It's an extremely therapeutic substance, an incredible medicine, but it's like taking too much of anything else.
And it very much really points back to understanding our own individual DNA, what I'm hearing from you loud and clear. Like once you know that, then you'll know exactly what you need to do and how that what you're taking impacts or potentially can impact you.
Yeah. So we met with the FDA the first time in 2018. They said, what is the purpose of your test? And I said, to help people either avoid or mitigate a possible adverse event. They said, great. That's exactly what we want to hear. So if you can see where your potholes are, again, just avoid them. And you can have a good experience. You know what to take, you know how much to take. And then the next part is, where do you get it? And then you measure.
It's it was really fascinating, and here's some of the things that you're doing. I mean, it intersects kind of the entrepreneurial space, the science space as well. You talked about being something involved in music to a certain degree. You've got your podcast, your personal growth piece. So how do you make it all work and balance, man?
It's my superpower. My ADD is my superpower. I like people think, you're labeled attention deficit disorder. So wait a second, there's something wrong with me. I have a disorder, and you start believing that. And anybody that's diagnosed with anything, you can use it as a superpower. It doesn't have to be. So yes, you still have to have, you have to work within the confines of what it is that you have. Going back to everything is personal, but if you create systems for yourself, you can utilize as your superpower. So I have to do multiple things, but it's multiple things that I have, systems for. So that's a really, really important. That's my, and then, I get a release of dopamine. Just for your audience sake, when you are diagnosed with ADD, and I'm not talking about the hyperactive, it's a little bit different, but partially the same. You're basically born with depletion of dopamine. So your brain is always looking for that squirt of dopamine. That's why you have these squirrel moments. You can be talking to somebody like, shiny new object. Oh, let me go get that. Well, because your brain thinks you're going to get more dopamine from there. And that's the challenge. So being able to understand that if you're doing something and there's an opportunity to get dopamine for somewhere else, use that as a reward system to get dopamine. And if you're no longer getting it, that drives you to try different things. And that may be driving you to do multiple things at the same time. Right. I can music and do my business, all these different things. It's a must for me. I have to do all these things because I'm getting these squirts of dopamine all the time.
Yeah. I so love the manner in which you reframed it, right? Like you've turned it, ADD is my superpower and use it for your benefit and find a way to, make it work for you. And again, that's just a powerful, powerful reframing exercise and so good. More of us should look at things that we deal with as such that because you're changing the lens, what you're doing, Len, right? You're looking for a different lens and you're going, hey, lens. I didn't realize I did that, but yeah, you're looking at different lens altogether, which I think is, again, a powerful, powerful exercise. So congratulations for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's I had a stint in life where I had an ADD coaching practice where I coached very successful people, executives, on how to do the same exact thing. And they're already successful, but what happens to them, they just get burned out. They're trying to do too many things, chasing shiny objects. So if you can create some systems, you can utilize that. And they, 60% of billionaires were diagnosed with some sort of neurodivergence, whether it's ADHD or some other kind of thing. So you can utilize it and still be successful, whether you have a balanced life.
Yep.
That's a second conversation. It's very hard to have balance in your life when you're an entrepreneur. Work life. Sometimes it's a little bit more work than life, but hopefully you'll catch up to it.
That it is. Well, look, I gotta congratulate you on the journey, man. Going after your passions, but things that matter to you. Staying true to who you are at the same time and enjoying life is all. That's a successful life from my perspective, right? It's not the six-figure income or the big house or the shiny car. It's the things that fuel you, and you're clearly doing that. I'm wondering if someone listening wants to start living more intentionally and authentically to who they are. What sort of practical step would you suggest that they do?
I just be honest with yourself. You have to understand that it's a journey, and the thing that I think I used to get hung up on it because people ask me, what would you tell your younger self, all that stuff. This too shall pass. This is the thing that I can't keep trying to tell myself. No matter what it is, it's going to resolve itself with action. And if you sit there and you do nothing, I did this once in my life. So I went through a pretty bad divorce. Mm-hmm. And when I was going through my divorce, I felt depressed and I sat and I took no action. And I assumed, debt, and I did all these things. And because taking no action doesn't resolve it, just piles up. Your bills pile up. You're going to look at it. You're going to avoid it. Sometimes you have to peel the Band-Aid off, and it's going to hurt, but it's not going to fester underneath. You're going to resolve it. And taking action is the key to doing anything. If you're off, then give yourself that 24 hours. It's okay. But next day, have a action plan. Do something. Do something for your business. Do something for your personal health and wellness. Do something for your family, but take action. And I feel a lot of time in this world of, reading The Secret and manifesting and listening to what Oprah says, and we'll manifest, and all of a sudden the sky is going to open up and all this money is going to fall in my lap. It's not going to happen, people. Right. You have to take action. Now you have to manifest it. You have to see it clear with your intention. But if you just do those things, you may get lucky and it's fine.
Sure.
But taking massive action, and that goes back to being audacious. You have to take massive action to be able to make change, even if it's uncomfortable, but you truly align with it and it lights you up. Even if it doesn't have to be permanent, lights you up right now, just go do it.
Do it. I love it. And I think that's a great note to close on, because it really is tied back to Audacious, is where we started off this conversation. So Len, I certainly appreciate the time here. For listeners that wanted to connect with you directly, learn more about your work and work with you, where could we send them?
I can go to EndoDNA, ENDODNA.com. That's our company website. I'm also on social, Len May, LenMay, except Instagram, I think Len May DNA, but you can find me under my name. I also have a podcast called Everything is Personal. I do have a coaching website. It's called Len May Coaching, whenever I have time to do that as well. And I have a book. My third book's coming out, but I have a book on Amazon, wherever you get books, called Making Cannabis Personal. So here's the book. You can get that on Amazon. And one more thing, Audley, I want to mention to you that I see the beats and rhymes and life. I'm a huge fan. That's my number one all time. So I appreciate representing A Tribe Called Quest. I should have wore my Low End Theory shirt, but I'm representing my woo. So
there we go. That works. Listen, I think it's important that we lead with our passions, right? And I just had a conversation with him earlier today, and I was talking about hip hop music in general, and I mean music in general, but hip hop specifically. I found in my upbringing, it very much was it helped it helped. I helped establish my identity as an individual. It gave me permission to be free of who, like that freedom of expression. Allowed that to happen. But I sort of gave a joke, like you know how you've got that so the hip hop artists, like the Big Daddy Kanes of the world and the KRS Ones and Tribe. I treat those guys like they were like you know that uncle that you go to a family barbecue and they call you over in the corner and tell you the stuff your parents won't tell you. Like they kind of give you the secrets of life, so to speak. That's kind of how it was for me, and so it's a big part of my my upbringing. You mentioned Woo. Do Woo or Bone Thugs Harmony? Who you take? Woo or Bone Thugs?
Oh, Woo.
Woo,
For sure.
Just checking.
Not even close. I love Bone Thugs. They're great. I seen them a couple of times. They did a cannabis launch, so I got to hang out for a little while.
Oh yeah,
cool. But yeah, no, it's Woo all the way. I mean, that's
okay.
Mount Rushmore area.
Woo or Tribe Called Quest?
Tribe is my number one like group. I got Tribe, you got Beasties, Woo. Sure. That's
okay.
But you mentioned I just saw KRS One performing. So I have a pick with him. Like that's the teacher. Listen,
there you go.
What he says.
Absolutely. It's funny. He's got a song about a blunt having a dream being a blunt of a blunt getting smoked and I can't wake up. I think it's what it's called. So I think you'd appreciate that. Anyhow, Len, this has been fantastic. I love the time with you. Congratulations on all the great work and all the best, my friend. Hey, thanks for being a guest on the Audacious Living podcast. That's awesome.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
One of the biggest takeaways from this conversation with Len, it's got to be this, everything is personal. Your health, your focus, your growth, your journey. And what I loved about Len's perspective is how it speaks directly to you if you've ever felt like misunderstood or mislabeled or boxed in by systems that weren't designed with you in mind. Whether it's health, career, or purpose, Len reminds us that awareness plus action changes everything. If you want to go deeper, I encourage you to connect with Len directly. Check out EndoDNA Explores podcast. Everything is personal, and learn how understanding your own blueprint can change the way you live, work, and lead. All the links, of course, are in the show notes below. We gotcha. And before we go, I want to leave you this quick analogy because most people skate to where the puck is. Audacious people skate to where the puck is going. That takes courage, it takes curiosity, and it takes trusting yourself enough to stand on that island before anyone else shows up. If this conversation sparks something in you, don't ignore it. That spark is your invitation to live more intentionally. If this episode added value to your journey, please like it, share it, and leave a review. Your audacious growth doesn't just change your life, it helps change the world. Until next time, keep living life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness.